All right, it looks like we're live. I'm going to start off this call with a story real quick. And while I'm here in San Diego, I've been here for nearly 2 weeks. I leave end of next week, maybe by the weekend. Actually, I don't even have a date in mind when I'm going to leave, but here soon. But before I get started, I kind of want to show like everyone where I'm at right now, just to show like the power of mobility, the power of being able to just like literally like work wherever you want. If we walk outside here for a second, it's a beautiful patio. I was just kind of showing the guys this before we started this call and before we went live, but it's a 1,000 square foot patio overlooking the entire downtown area, and I can actually walk around here. You're gonna see on this side the Padres field, baseball stadium. They actually have the Rolling Stones playing there. People out there, you can look down at the street and just see beautiful city of San Diego. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is that I'm here right now because of a phone call. Literally like one single phone call. The person that lives here, I'll show you real quick. Go back inside. Is actually the owner of this company right here, Value Add-On. I think I showed it last time. He owns a software that he's built, and the reason I share this story for you is like just the power of phone calls and like how it can really change your life. Um, this guy Josh Ryder, he owns Value Add-On, has this awesome place downtown. Um, I reached out to him after literally 2 years of trying to get his phone number. 2 years. His aunt actually, funny story. His aunt dated my dad. Um, so every time I would see her, she would always tell me about this guy, Josh. Like, hey, he's an internet marketer. He owns these websites. He makes all this money, travels the world. He's the type of guy that's never lived anywhere more than a place for 6 months. So I'm like, dude, I got to get a hold of this guy. And it was like right after I graduated college. I was in corporate. I was having a good time at corporate. I was having fun. But I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I wanted to start my own business. So for literally 2 years, I would just keep asking, like, hey, can you give me his phone number? Can I reach out to him one day? And she just like would put it off, like kind of like, oh yeah, and just never made it happen. Well, it wasn't until I took my leap of absence and decided to like go full throttle with this business. And it was an unpaid leave of absence. For 12 weeks, I had to make my business work. I had no choice. So I think she finally got the hint. She was like, okay, like I see that you're serious right now. It sounds like you're really trying to start this business. So she finally gave me the phone number, and I just picked up the phone, gave him a call, struck up a conversation for about an hour, like just bullshitted with him, really asked him some good engaging questions about his business. And then ever since then, he just, helped me out. He was able to answer a lot of questions starting my business. I mean, to this day, I'm like here right now, and I've been asking him just how to really run a business, like what it takes to just like balance your time, how to put the work ethic in, and just to see what this guy's doing, who's running a team. I believe about 4 or 5 other people. He's paying them full salaries, and it was awesome to see that. It was awesome to get that learning experience. I also have had the chance to talk to a couple other business owners just at Josh's same level. And those were guys that I literally just met over the phone, and for the first time was able to meet them in person. And what I've noticed with all these people here in San Diego, not only is it a big hub for internet marketers and business owners, but the people here are driven. Like the people here work. Like I've gone out till like 2 o'clock in the morning, like partying all night, and come back home, and my buddy Josh is just like getting on the computer and working. Like they just don't stop. Like people don't stop, but it doesn't feel like work to them. They are legitimately enjoying what they're building. They're having fun. So the reason I share this story is just to kind of like explain to you like the power of one phone call, how it could change your life. Like you can imagine, like if there's anyone right now that you can think of that could mentor you, that could become a client, that could be just someone that maybe just makes you in a better mood and makes you a little happier that day, and you can connect with. make that call. Don't be scared. Um, and the more and more you do it, the farther you're going to go in life. So that's kind of why I share that. So today we're going to be talking about kind of going off the cuff. I was originally going to plan on sitting down, but now I'm outside. It's cloudy, but it looks actually, it feels actually pretty nice out. So today we're going to be talking about qualifying the lead. Before we get into qualifying the lead, I'm gonna keep this call a little bit shorter than the last one. The last one was like pretty long, hour and 40 minutes. This one I'm gonna try to keep more about 30 minutes and then have some room for Q&A at the end. One thing I do want to point out is the weekly challenge. I really want you guys to get on this. If you can do those weekly challenges, you're going to grow much quicker. You're gonna be able to hit these goals, your revenue goals, much quicker. There's a few people that still didn't do last week's weekly challenge. If you need more time, that's fine, but I highly recommend you do it. I mean, people pay me like $1,000 a month, sometimes even more. They'll give me commissions just to do these one-on-one calls with them. So it's a lot of value. The people that I was able to help already in the 90-day revenue boost, I was able to make some small little role plays and some little breakthroughs. I really want to see where you're at. And if you can just take the time after this call, schedule an appointment with me, I'll do my best to make myself available. But I really want to make sure you guys get the value. So make sure to do that. As far as this week's weekly challenge, I will announce it at the end of the call. So with that said, let's dive in. So 4 qualifications. Get your pen, paper, whatever you got to do. Get your Word document out. Take some notes on this. This is going to be the cornerstone of qualifying a lead, and you need to know this. This is something that I was taught when I was first into sales, and this guy taught me a lot about how to really make sure to get the sale. And it's going to be by these 4 qualifications. So let's start with number 1. The decision maker. You got to make sure whoever you're talking to is the decision maker, okay? Now, this is definitely more on the business-to-business role. If you're a business-to-consumer, you're not necessarily going to deal with this problem a lot unless it's someone that says, oh, I need to consult with my girlfriend, I need to talk to my wife, business partner, whatever it is. But generally, you want to make sure you're talking to the decision maker. Great example, Christian yesterday was over here at the loft I'm staying at in San Diego, and he was really going into he was talking about this lead he was following up, and I'm sure some of you guys can relate to this, but he was talking about a lead that he he's been talking to for a few months. It's this lady, and she runs kind of an agency for online marketing. She has a client, and she's trying to get him more of an online presence, build the blog, build the website, and it looks like Christian met her at a meetup.com group. Well, the biggest thing I was asking him, well, does she make the shots? Can she make the decision to buy your service, Christian? And his response was, I don't know. I don't know. And that's a big problem, because she might be able to make the decision, but it sounds like to me she has to go back to her client to ultimately say, hey, let's do the deal. So for example, if Christian said, hey, I want to do a website, blog, social media, do all this stuff, I'm going to do this whole online marketing package for $10,000, she's not going to just be able to write him a check or a down payment. She's going to have to go back to the guy, convince him, and now you're at a very long process. My point of this is, do not waste your time with people that aren't the decision maker. Now, it's okay to build rapport. It's okay to have some conversations with that person. We call them the gatekeeper, like if it's an assistant or someone else. But the point is to get around that person and provide a reason to talk to the person who makes the decisions. Now, a decision maker, what does a decision maker look like? That could be a business owner. That could be a marketing director. Let's say you are, for example, Ben Fishel just created an awesome website for his new online content media strategy. So he's going to be the type of guy that needs to reach out to a lot of businesses right now, a lot of business owners. Now, if you reach out to a business that's big enough, they usually have a marketing director that can make those kind of budget decisions. But if you're dealing with more the small to mid-size Normally, the decision maker is going to be the CEO. It's going to be the business owner. It's going to be the head honcho, and you need to get that person on the phone. So do not waste any time talking to an assistant or someone else if you're not without the end goal in mind, without the only reason you should be talking to that assistant or anyone else that's not the decision maker is to get a hold of the decision maker. Okay? So that's going to be the first qualification. A couple little tricks on decision making. So let's just say, hypothetically, one of the big objections that you get is you're talking to a business owner. Okay, you sell them on the product, you get them really hyped up, they're excited, but then they give you this. They say, well, I need to talk to my business partner, or I need to talk to my wife. So how do you respond to that? Well, first you need to really engage how interested they are. Are they just blowing smoke and like being nice with you and just trying to get off the phone, or are they legitimately interested? And there's a way to gauge that. So the next time someone says, hey, I need to talk to my wife, this is how you respond. Well, I totally understand. You know, if that was my wife, I wouldn't want to just make a big call without consulting with her. But let me ask you something while we're on the phone right now. If I was your wife right now, what would you tell me? And it sounds, most people actually laugh when I ask that question. They laugh for a second, like, oh, you're not, not my wife. But the point is, it opens them up and it makes the conversation more real, and they will respond. If they don't, ask it again. Well, no, I'm seriously, like if we were sitting down right now, like, what would you tell me? What would you tell me about this service that we just talked about? And they're going to open up. They're going to talk to you. And if it's anything less than, you know what, I'm really stoked. I'm definitely going to do this. And but I just have to talk to my wife about it real quick. It's 100% hell yeah. I'll get back to you in an hour. Then that's a different story. Then they're interested. But if they say something like, well, I would tell my wife that it's a good service, but I don't have the money. Well, now what you've done is you've just brought it up an objection, and what we've just found out by asking that question, that it's not really consulting about the wife or the business partner or the investor. What you're really doing is you're finding out that it's the budget in this scenario, or whatever other scenario is playing in that prospect's head. But in this case, he says, okay, well, it's the budget. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Now you got to continue the conversation and go through that objection. So let's put the money aside. Do you see value in this product? And they say, okay, yeah, I do, or no, I don't. But again, now we're opening these conversations to go through more objections. You got to look at objections like opportunities. And we're going to dive into more objections throughout this next few months working together. Objections are just one of those things you're really not going to learn how to handle them until you just practice them. I can name 1,000 objections right now, but until you really experience it, that's when you're really going to start to learn. So just keep that in mind. One little tip, everyone write this down. Anytime you get an objection, write that down. I want you to be the master of handling those objections. And we're going to practice this. This is going to be a lot of practice over the next 90 days, but make sure to write those objections down and get a list of objections and then come up with an opportunity for that objection. All right. Just checking the notes real quick. Seeing if there's any questions. Okay, cool. So qualification number 2. All right, we're on number 2 now. You need to find if your prospect has a need or interest. A need or interest. And now it sounds pretty obvious, right? But if your client doesn't need what you have, your customer doesn't need it, how are you going to get the sale? Okay? If your client isn't interested, if they aren't excited, if they really don't feel like it'll benefit their life, how are they going to why are they going to buy your product? So how do we find that? Well, what are some good ways to find that? Okay, you're going to have to find what we call pain points. You're going to have to find what that person, like what keeps them up at night, and when you really break it down, people all generally want the same thing. When you really keep asking why, if you keep really find the need behind the need behind the need, with a prospect, you're going to be able to figure out really why they want what they want. And generally, when you break it down that level, you're going to be able to now get a sale. You're able to get more on an emotional level with someone and really show your value, really show that you care. You're not just the salesperson on the phone just pitching your product. Okay, I'm going to sell you my blogging content strategy. It's $1,000 a month. Blah blah blah. This is why it's great. No, no, no. Before you get into the conversation, dive into why that business owner wants a content marketing strategy. Okay, I want a content marketing strategy because let's role play for a second. I ask a business owner right now. Okay, so let's just say Christian is the business owner. Okay, and you've been in business for 5 years now. Okay, and I'm selling you a content marketing strategy. Well, I really want to figure out if qualification 2. I already know you're the decision maker. Let's see if you're actually interested. Well, the questions I'm going to start asking you is, well, how long have you been in business? Why did you start this business? Okay. Christian might respond with something like, I started this because I'm very passionate about being an entrepreneur. I love having the ability to grow a little empire for my family. See, what I just did there is now I know Christian has a family. Okay, so what would you like to do with your family? Would you like to spend more time with that family? With this content, so how can we tie in this content strategy? Well, if you have this content strategy, you can have a bigger presence. Your business can be more known. You can get more customers that way. Whatever benefits that really tie into Christian's story, I'm going to really try to figure out on one of these calls. And it's very important to figure out if you can have the need or interest. I can dive in deeper with Christian by asking him things like, well, what are you trying to accomplish? How many more customers? Christian could respond, well, I'm trying to get 10 new customers a week. Okay, how are you not getting that right now? Christian says, okay, well, I'm really frustrated. I've been shopping around, to be honest. I've been screwed over by a lot of content marketing companies. Now we know a pain point. We know that Christian doesn't have trust. We know that Christian has been screwed over. He's been burnt by either lack of communication or whatever reasons. That's the type of questions you really need to figure out when you're qualifying a lead. And unless you have qualification 2, unless you really understand, when I say understand, you can feel their pain. It's no different than if a friend came up to you and said, I just went through a bad breakup and I feel horrible right now. And you just reached out to your friend and just helped him out. You were just like, oh, I've been there, I understand. Let's talk about it for a little bit. It's no different. I want you to get on that level when it comes to sales. I want you to get deep with them in a sense of you really understand them on an emotional level. And when you can understand that, you can find the pain points. You can find how you can solve them. You can find out how you can throw a life vest, a lifesaver out and cast it and reel them back in the boat. And that's the only way you're going to do that is by having those list of questions. We're still on number 2, qualifications, which is need and interest. Another way to find need and interest is the hot button. The hot button. Find their hot buttons and keep pressing that hot button. Now, what is a hot button? Well, let me tell you a story real quick. There was a real estate agent who he's very tailored. He's been in the business for over 20 years, and he is showing a new couple, a newlywed couple, husband and wife, a new house. So he goes in the house, and he's been really trying to sell this house for a while now, and this is the way he goes about it. They walk into the house, and as they walk into the kitchen, they look out the window, and the wife looks out and notices a cherry tree, beautiful cherry tree, and her eyes light up. And the real estate agent catches that. He realizes it. He sees her emotion. He sees how she reacts and how it lights up in her face when she sees that. So he mentions it. He says, "Hey, how do you like that cherry tree looking out of the window from there?" So he said, "Yeah, it's beautiful. It's nice." And the husband's kind of just sitting there crossing his arms, not really interested, kind of looking around. Well, they decide to walk into the living room. And the husband says, "Oh, this living room's too small. I'm not feeling this right now." Well, The real estate points out, looks at the window and says, well, look what you see outside the window. And the wife looks out, sees the cherry tree, and she lights it up again. She completely ignores the fact that the living room is small. So then they said, okay, well, let's walk upstairs real quick. So they walk upstairs, they go up to a bedroom, and they're looking around. The husband's like, I don't like how the bathroom is on this side of the wall, but the room's okay. She's like, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's over there, but look real quick if you look outside the window again. How beautiful is that view of the cherry tree in that backyard? And then again, the wife is just lit up. And he keeps doing this. He keeps doing this. So by the end of the tour, he goes out the backyard, and what he's doing is he keeps pushing that hot button, and she gets so excited. She's like, "Oh, honey, we gotta get this place. Can we please get this?" He gives in. He says, "Okay, you know what? This house is actually pretty nice. It's a good price. I can see us living here for the next few years." And he sells her on it. And he sells her by continuously pushing that button. And the only way to find that button is to be asking engaging questions to really find out what makes a person tick. So going back to the example of me and Christian, where Christian's that business owner, he's been in business for 5 years. I'm trying to do a content marketing strategy, and he already admitted to me he has a family and he wants to take care of that family. He wants to build a small empire. Well, by the time we're trying to close on the deal and he's trying to back out, I can say, well, Christian, let's go back to what you were saying. You said you really want to build your empire. You really want to help your family grow and build something for your kids before you pass away. This content strategy, like, do you feel like having a bigger online presence, having more customers will help you get there? Is that a piece of the puzzle that will help you get there? And if he says yes, then you're pushing him. You're pushing him to get that sale. And when you're talking about sales, I know a lot of people think it gets pushy, but eventually you're going to naturally be able to do this. It might come off as pushy or awkward the first few times you try it, but do it anyways. I want you to keep practicing. It's no different than if you went to Best Buy or some electronics store and you saw something like, let's say, a stereo. Like, think of the last time that you bought something that you really just really wanted, but you were just short of cash, or maybe you didn't want to spend it. You're really contemplating, but the guy who was there kept pushing you. He's like, no, man. I mean, this stereo is like the sickest one in town right now. I mean, this is the loudest speakers you can get. The sound is crisp. It's clear. He's emotionally selling you, and he's like talking you off the ledge. And you almost want him to sell you. You're not mad at the guy for selling you. You're actually excited because he's like, it's like being at a gym and you're trying to get the last reps. Let's say you're benching, and that he's like your personal trainer. Like, keep going, you got this. They're pushing you to do something that you do really want. And that's how you got to look at these calls. And again, the only way you're going to do that is by asking good questions. I'm going to keep going back to that because that is so important in sales, is that you need to really listen. You really need to listen to people and ask good questions. So that's qualification 2. So again, number 1, make sure you're talking to the decision maker. Number 2, make sure they have a need or interest. All right. Number 3. Qualification number 3. Budget. You need to make sure the person you're talking to is not dead broke, living like, just totally can't afford it. And if they can't afford it, that they're going to really benefit for your product, okay? You need to figure out if this person has budget. If they don't have budget, can they pull out a credit card? Can they pull out a loan? Can they borrow from an investor? Can they borrow from their parents? Can they get access to that money, okay? You need to make sure that the person has budget. So if you're talking to a business, you need to make sure that they have the budget. If you're talking to a person, you need to make sure that they can get the budget, okay? Ways to figure out what's in someone's budget. Well, just ask them what's in their budget. It's that simple. I know when I was, and this might be a good strategy for some of you guys that haven't solidified your packages, or maybe you have, but you want to keep tweaking the price. If you don't know what to charge someone and you have maybe a range, what I've done in the past when I was first starting my first web design company was that I would just straight up ask someone, what's in your budget? And it was actually funny the first time I tried it. It was during my leave of absence at Trulia And I got off. I remember just like calling people, trying to sell people, and I got a connection with a friend through a referral. It's this guy that owns a construction company, and he needed a website. He hadn't had one for like 10 years. He really wanted to revamp it, and I'm talking with him, and we're having a good conversation, just bullshitting and trying to figure out his needs and his wants. And it comes down to price. And I really didn't know what to charge. I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll charge like $1,000, maybe $2,000 to build out his WordPress website. It came down to price, and he asked me, well, what's the price? And I said, well, you know what? I really want to make sure that this works out, or that we do something that works for your business and your budget. Can you just tell me what's in your budget? I just flat out asked him, what's in your budget? And he says, well, the last person I paid, it was $2,000. I don't want to pay anything more than $2,000. And like I literally just like lit up for a second. I'm like, oh wow, like I was not expecting that. I would have done it for like 1,000. I didn't say this, but this is what I'm thinking. And I just said, okay, yeah, it sounds like a deal. $2,000, that's perfect. And then within the next week, I went over his place. He wrote me a check for $1,000, and it was just like that. And it was just because I asked. It was just because I said, what's in your budget? Now, it's not always going to work like that. Sometimes you're going to ask someone what's in your budget, and they're going to they're going to be smart about it. It's getting a little loud, so I'm going to walk in real quick. Got some motorcycles. Oh man, it's cool though. It's cool being downtown. All right, take a quick stand break. Get the blood flowing a little bit. All right, let me plug this in the wall real quick. Going back to budget though. So when I asked them that, it's not always going to work like that, right? Some guys are going to be like, oh, well, we don't really have. You'll get some guys that are pretty good, or even some sleazy guys, sleazy business people that are really going to try to soak you down, like just soak it out of you and just try to get the cheapest price possible. The only way to really find these people out is to just, again, practice, keep doing these type of calls, really get yourself out there. So again, going back to that, the only way is to just ask what's in your budget. If someone doesn't have the money, you can tell they're super interested. They're the decision maker. They have the need or interest. They don't necessarily have the budget, but maybe they do. Well, you got to make them really work for it. You got to really make them just figure out a way to get the budget. And the only way to do that is to tap back into those hot buttons and those needs and interests. You'll be surprised how many people say from the beginning of the call, I do not have the money. I've called so many people. Sorry, this alarm ambulance right now. Let me close the door real quick. So going back to the that example where it's not always going to work that way, right? You're going to have people that they're just not, they're just not going to have it. They're going to try to really dwindle you down. And again, the only way is to just ask. Now, if they don't have the budget, you got to just go back to really finding the need, really finding the pain points. There's so many times I have talked to someone, and right at the beginning of the call, they're like, okay, I'll listen to you and I'll have this conversation, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have the money. And usually those people do have the money. It's the funniest thing. I think they have that resistance to say that right off the bat because they want to put that defense guard. But by the end of the conversation, they realize, okay, well, guess what? I actually have a credit card that I can use because this sounds awesome, and it sounds like you're a great guy, and you're really going to work hard to make this happen. So I have a way to pull up the money. So budget's a very important thing. So again, make sure when you're qualifying the lead, decision maker, need interest, number 3 is going to be budget. All right, so we're going to go into number 4 here in just a second. All right, if everyone would just take like kind of a quick break, kind of stand up, get the blood flowing. you know, move around a little bit. And we'll get into number 4 here in just a second. Make sure to be writing this stuff down too. Those three qualifications, those four qualifications, and the three we just covered. Um, when Christian was talking with me, showing me that lead, I could see he was wasting a lot of time. And I've talked to a couple other guys in this group already that were doing the same thing, where you're just talking with someone, like Christian was talking with this lady, for example, and it was just like not really getting anywhere. He wasn't going for this qualification. So when you are talking with someone, have that end goal in mind. Make sure that you are getting to that decision maker. Make sure that you are doing everything to get these people qualified. Otherwise, it's not really a lead. Otherwise, you're pretty much just wasting time. Okay, number 4. Fourth qualification is going to be urgency. This is probably one of the harder ones to get figured out, but urgency. If you can create urgency, you can get a sale, because you might get the decision maker, you might get the need or interest, you might really like get them like razzed up, like, oh, I gotta have this, like you're an awesome person. And then number 3, I have the budget, I have the money, but you know what? I'll just do this like next month, or you know what? Maybe follow it with me next quarter, or you know what? I'm not really motivated to do it right now. That's a buzzkill. That's like a horrible thing. Like when you can get through all 3 qualifications, but you can't get that 4th one, and that's urgency. So how do we create urgency? Well, there's a lot of ways to do it, right? Just this revenue boost course that I had urgency. Naturally, it wasn't even like a sales pitch or anything, but in the sense of, hey, like class starts May 18th. Like I'm only going to be offering this to a few people. I can't get 20 people in this course. I can't handle that capacity. Or I could, but I don't want to. I want to make sure I get results. So that right there was a natural urgency. There was only so many spots, and it started a specific date. If you don't buy now, if you don't buy right away, you're just not going to get in. You're going to miss the boat, and you're going to miss the opportunity of growing your business. And that's why you're all here right now. When you're doing these on the sales calls, do the same thing. What are some other creative ways to do it? Well, you can offer discounts. If it's the beginning of the year, you can say, hey, we're doing a New Year special. We're going to help you align all your goals and do that. If you're in an e-commerce business, for example, Nick has the candle business. You could be saying, hey, if you buy the full package right now, that the 12 months, what Nick does is he sends you a candle every month with a story. And he could throw in a special right there, and it's a very limited time special. That's why you see it everywhere. I know it sounds, some people, it comes off as cheesy, but it works. You got to really make sure that you have limited time offers. You got to make sure you have seasonal discounts. You have promotions. You got to make. Everyone likes to get hooked up. Everyone likes to get hooked up. So make them feel that way. Anytime I'm coming up with a proposal, let's say I'm doing a website for $5,000. I was actually just showing Christian one of the websites we recently done. It was just under 5,000. We did the website for an organization over in Denver, and sure as hell we didn't just give them a proposal and say $5,000 on it. No, we marked that up a little bit, and it gives us more negotiating room. So, we mark it up $500 and, try to negotiate a little bit and say, you know what, we'll hook you up. We'll give you this percentage off. We'll knock off $600. And it gives yourself more wiggle room, less pressure, and it makes the person really feel like you're hooking them up. And that's what people want. So just make sure to do that in all your products, all your services, however you do it. You don't have to use the exact examples that I'm saying right now, but just I hope that resonates with you in the sense of, okay, do what you can to really make someone feel special. So again, 4 qualifications, one more time. 1, decision maker. 2, need or interest. 3, budget. 4, you got to make sure you create some urgency. Here's one more example. This might be a good one for most of you guys since you're just starting off. You could just say, hey, look, for like a limited time, my first round of customers, I'm gonna give them a steal. Like my price is definitely going up. I know right now I charge, for example, Ben's social media. I think you had a package for $800. You could say, hey, right now the price the value in what we're doing, it's $2,000 a month. But for my first round of clients, I really want to make sure this works for you guys. We're only charging $800. That's $1,200 off. And that's the kind of deal I can give you if this is something you can commit to right now. If this is something you can do right now. So just make sure to create that urgency in the call. All right, so that's the end of the training session. That's the 4 qualifications. You guys can all unmute. Whoever has some questions, go for it. I'll stick around here for another 10 minutes. Again, I want to keep this call shorter, under an hour, moving forward, just so people that are watching the recorded videos are going to get a lot of value. So whoever's listening right now, feel free to unmute, and we'll dive into some questions.
I guess I'll start it off.
Go for it, Nick.
All right, cool. So as I was listening to these 4 qualifications, the whole time I was putting it into the frame of like me selling to buyers for boutique stores. And so, I mean, if we kind of just use that as like a little study, I'm thinking, well, immediately I know who the decision maker is. I think part of the issue is just figuring out how to find them and gain access to them and just schedule a call with them. I have been trying to do that, just like calling the store and asking to have my like pitch passed along to the buyer, but I'm so far I haven't been able to get past the gatekeeper, or the buyer just hasn't the pitch wasn't compelling enough to get a response from the buyer. So I'm kind of like stuck at that point right now, just trying to figure out, okay, what about this do I need to change that will get some kind of response?
So your question is, Nick, that you need to figure out a way to get around the gatekeeper?
Yeah, and just get just face-to-face with the decision maker.
There's a couple ways to do this, okay? And again, it comes down to just practicing and doing this. So generally, as soon as you get to that gatekeeper, you're going to just want, you said that you do have the name, you know who to get a hold of, right?
Well, no, I don't know like the specific buyer for that company. Well, I do for some of them, and maybe I should just simply ask to talk to them.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do. And you don't want to come off as the sales guy, because the gatekeepers are trained to get the way. Some are very easy and lax. It's very easy to get right through them. Others, you gotta put in some work. And usually the ones you gotta put in some work are the ones that are gonna have more budget, and they're more established. So in order to do that, there's a couple ways, and you might want to write this down. One is just to ask for the direct line of that person. So let's just say you know the person. Okay, so the first round of calls, you just get a hold of them, you get the names, you try to get the contact, but you're not lucky. It's a lot easier to get someone's name if you know that decision maker's name. So that would be the first strategy, right? Let's just say hypothetically, I was calling you, Nick. Excuse me, you were the gatekeeper, and I was trying to call Christian. Christian was the gatekeeper. So what I would do is I would call you, and I would just literally act like I know who Christian is. I would call you and say, "Hey, Nick, this is David with Crusoe. I'm just can you get me in touch with Christian?" Just ask, and a lot of times they'll just transfer you over. Now, if they say, "Oh no, sorry," this is a common one you'll get. "Oh, sorry, Christian's in a meeting right now. Can I take a message?" You say, "I'll respond to you, Nick. I'll say, yeah, Nick, I'll say, yeah, Nick, I could take I can leave a message," unless there's just a better line to reach him at. And that actually works like half the time. they'll just say, oh yeah, yeah, you just reach Christian at, and they'll give you the cell phone. It's really funny. I love when this method works. A lot of times they'll just say, oh no, sorry, like this is the best line to reach them. And you say, okay, well, is there a better time I can just call back if they're in a meeting now? So there's a couple ways you can go about that. But the thing is just to really just say, hey, I need to talk to Christian. I need to talk to that decision maker, and just almost come off as if you know the person, you know who you want to get in hold of.
Yeah.
So that's one strategy. Another strategy is just build rapport with the gatekeeper. Really just say, hey, you can go the very soft approach. This one works really well too. If you're the gatekeeper, I'll say, hey Nick, I got this, really awesome. I really can show some value to Christian. I have a product that I think would really interest Christian. I think would really add some value to your business. Could you please tell me a good time? When's the best time to get a hold of Christian? When's the best time to call him? And they'll make it fun too. They'll be like, oh, Christian's actually really lazy. He like never comes in. He only comes in like Tuesdays and Wednesday like mornings. So you know what? Call back then. Call at 9 o'clock and you'll get a hold of him. So just going the sweet approach, that can work as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Building rapport with the gatekeeper. But the only way, again, is just to practice it. I would say just have that business owner in mind and go for that name. Go get on the phone with that person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely. What other questions do you have, Nick?
Let's see. So I'm as you were going through like the hot button concept, the cherry tree story, I'm thinking, okay, what are the hot buttons that I was trying to use in my pitch for these buyers? And of course, the biggest thing for any buyer who wants to be successful in their job is that they will bring on products that will sell well. So like kind of focusing on that. But I guess so that would probably be that number or whatever like metric that they use to assess that would probably be important to them. Like, given that this is a relatively new company, those metrics might cause certain buyers to shy away. So I'm trying to think, knowing that that's what's important to them, I mean, it's sold out, but it was a pretty small production initially. What can I say to give them the green light on that, or not raise a red flag for, the metric that's most important to them?
Can you clarify a little more what you mean by the metric?
So the metric being, so I'm trying to think of it from the buyer perspective. I'm a buyer, and I'm approached from a small business looking to have their product featured. I'm thinking, okay, I would allow you to get past this gate if you can kind of assure me that this will be, all of this inventory will be sold. Or somehow like you can make this as riskless as possible for me. I guess it's kind of hard for me to do that right now because I don't have any solid numbers that would completely lower their guard. So I'm thinking, is there another way to talk to this person?
I would find the person that there's people out there that want the new thing. They'll remember if you can tap into everyone had to start somewhere. Right? Everyone starts somewhere. And I mean, the fact like looking at your product, looking at your website, like I would never be able to tell like you're new, Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would go in, people don't necessarily care about the numbers. Okay? When you were talking with me, Nick, for example, when we were chatting, what was the conversation like? Were we talking more about, your story, like why you're in business, or were we talking about metrics and numbers and the technical details of the course?
Right. It was definitely about the story, the greater vision of the product, the kind of value that I'm trying to give through this product. Definitely.
Yeah, and one thing I always recommend to business owners, especially ones starting off, even ones that have been in business for 10 to 20 years and still haven't got sales down, is to just sell yourself. It's like the last time you bought something from anyone, you bought something from someone probably because you liked them, like you got some, you were able to relate to that person, and you could see, okay, this person can help me out. A lot of times human beings, like we just want to know that we can trust someone, and that if we're working with someone, like long term, you're going to want to work with them. You're not going to like get on the call every time and, just be miserable, like clash.
Hmm.
And a lot of times when you're out there selling someone, you're actually getting them to sell you as well, because you can go out there and call someone and they're like really greedy, or they're just really quick with you, or they're rude, or whatever it is. There's something with that personality that doesn't clash with you. You're just not going to want to deal with it. So going back to that, answering that question, I would literally just be yourself, sell yourself. I know that is as just generic that sounds, like be yourself, but that's literally what it is to just dive into those deep questions, sell yourself as a person, and then your product later. I mean, people will then. I mean, think about it. Going from their perspective, do you feel like if you were a business owner and someone approached you and you could relate to that guy, and do you feel like you'd be a little bit more inclined to put their product on the shelf versus someone that was just going in there and didn't really show off his personality and you didn't really click with?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I can see where you're going with that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So does that clarify? Does that help?
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I guess just I guess I was going into it with the assumption that they're just all about cold numbers, which of course I'll still be conscious of the importance of that, but just knowing that I guess allowing myself to be myself and to bring like the real reason why I want to
I mean,
why
you
this
have good
product
numbers. You
exists.
could be like, dude, I got my first eight, like I just starting this off, and like I got 80 out there, and I sold it all. I was totally like, I thought 80 was a lot, and I sold it all. Like, I think I'm onto something. Like, can you be the guy that helps me? Like, you have some great numbers to begin with. You don't have thousands or anything like that, but the same sense, you just started off a few months ago, and that's very stellar. Like, there's people that have like started for like years and haven't been able to sell that much. I was consulting some guy that was selling like protein packages, and he got like 120 products, and he like sold like a couple of them, and it's just like
Mhm.
it is numbers. You do have some numbers to show, and I think if you can leverage that, use that excitement of like, hey, this is new, like you can get a good price with me too. Hook them up with a
Sure.
good deal, because you're not this big company that has like very strict metrics, and you're going to charge, you're going to require a higher price. But since you're the newer guy, it's more exciting, and you can offer them the better hookup, the better wholesale price.
Cool. As far as transparency and everything, like, I mean, of course, I want to be as transparent as possible. Would you recommend? So one person responded, and he's going to be in LA. He's from New Orleans. He's like, this product looks really cool. I'd like to meet in LA next time I'm there. Would it be, would you advise for or against kind of saying like, look, to be honest, you might be my first wholesaler, and I want you to be that person to, I guess, be I don't know, the leader for the brand,
Yeah, yeah.
and I want to give you a discount to honor that kind of. And
I
do you
would
think
just say, yeah, you could just say you're one of the first. You can be
okay,
vague. You can be
yeah,
vague. A lot of times with those type of situations, just get vague. I mean, because you don't know, man. I mean, you might sign him up, and then like the next week you get five more. And then all of a
yeah,
sudden he's not your first, but he's your sixth.
yeah,
Like
right,
you just never know. So just keep it vague. I mean, if you want to be open about it, and he sounds like a guy that doesn't really carry the way, you're really not going to know. But I wouldn't put a lot of pressure on worrying about it.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. All right, cool, man. Is
Yeah.
anyone else have any questions? Scott, Christian? Yeah, it looks like they're all on mute, man. All right, cool. So we just kept this just under an hour. Yeah, Christian says he's nothing as of yet. It looks like Scott's good too, looking at the chat. All right, guys. Well, did you have any final questions for me, Nick?
I'm good. If I do, I'll shoot you an email or something. I
Awesome.
appreciate this feedback though.
Definitely, definitely. So the weekly challenge is going to be, I want you to reach out to 10 people by the next call. reach out to 10 people. If you have to go to a meetup group, if you have to build a list, if you have to even cold call someone, just contact 10 people by the next call. And if you guys do these challenges, I'm going to write this in an email too. I am launching a podcast. I am doing this blog. I am building this big community for a new company called Nitro Sales Team. It's going to be launching in June, so actually here by next week. And whoever wins this weekly, I want to do a bunch of prizes at the end of this 12 weeks. But whoever wins, I am going to have them feature on the podcast, which will get you exposure. It will get your name out there. So I want to give everyone that opportunity. Right now, whoever accomplishes those will get a point every single week. That will be one of the bases. So yeah, this week, just make sure to reach out to 10 new people, whether it's 10 new businesses, 10 new customers. I don't care what it is. Just make it a point to reach out to 10 people and have a conversation with them. Don't put too much pressure on selling them. Just get a hold of them. Sound good?
So the challenge, if we accomplish it, is 1 point, and whoever accumulates the most points at the end could be featured in a podcast?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sweet. Was
Yeah.
that last call that we had considered my first week's sales call, or should I give you a call?
Give me a call. Yeah, shoot me an email. Let's schedule an appointment.
Okay, for sure.
I'll put in an email to clarify everything, what we just talked about today.
For sure.
Awesome, man. All right, guys. Well, have a wonderful week. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day, if anyone in the United States. And, yeah, have a good one.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, take care.
David.